When her pulse faded, every doctor froze, except the human. The emergency klaxon tore through Isaac Brennan's lab at 3 in the morning, and he knew before checking his comm that someone important was dying. He slammed his hand against the console, silencing the alarm. The holographic display flickered to life, showing the stern face of Physician Corvus, the Imperial head of medicine. The Valkyrian's silver skin gleamed under harsh medical bay lighting, his triple-lidded eyes narrowed in barely controlled panic. "Dr. Brennan, your presence is required immediately in the Royal Medical Wing," Corvus said, each word clipped. "What's the diagnosis?" Isaac was already moving, grabbing his field kit. "Princess Seraphine has collapsed. Neural cascade failure, stage 4. Isaac's hands froze. Stage 4 meant minutes, maybe less. He'd seen 3 cases of the plague this month, all fatal, all female Valkyrians, but none had been royalty. The corridors blurred past as Isaac ran. Guards in ceremonial armor stepped aside without a word, their faces hidden behind ornate helmets. A human, summoned to treat the Emperor's daughter. The insult would be discussed in barracks across the capital by morning. The medical wing's doors hissed open, revealing controlled chaos. A dozen Valkyrian physicians surrounded a raised platform where Seraphine lay motionless. Her blue skin had paled to ashen gray, white hair splayed across the examination surface like spilled silk. Monitoring equipment crowded around her, each screen showing a different system in failure. Her chest barely moved. Isaac pushed through the gathered doctors. Up close, she was breathtaking, even in crisis. High cheekbones, elegant features carved from ice. Her violet eyes were closed, long lashes dark against fevered skin. "Her neural pathways are collapsing," Corvus said. "We've attempted every traditional treatment. Nothing works." Isaac studied the readouts, his mind racing. The cascade pattern was familiar, but accelerated beyond anything he'd seen. "The synchronization protocol," Isaac said. "It's the only option." Every physician in the room went rigid. Corvus's expression hardened into stone. "Absolutely not. The physical requirements alone violate a dozen sacred—" "She'll be dead in 5 minutes if we follow sacred anything," Isaac interrupted, holding up his scanner. "Look at the degradation rate. Her synaptic network is eating itself. The only way to stabilize her is continuous neural chemical exchange, and that means sustained physical contact. Days of it." "You're describing a bonding protocol," another physician said, voice thick with horror. "With a human, with royalty." "I'm describing the only treatment that has any chance of working." Isaac locked eyes with Corvus. "You brought me here because I study what you won't touch, because human neurology works differently, and sometimes that difference is the answer. But if you'd rather protect tradition than your princess, I'll leave." He turned toward the door, counting silently. 1, 2, 3. "Stop." The voice wasn't Corvus's. It came from the chamber's far end, deep and resonant. Emperor Aldrich emerged from the shadows, his robes of state hanging loose as if he'd dressed in haste. Age lined his silver skin, but his eyes burned with the same violet fire as his daughter's. "Explain this treatment," Aldrich commanded. "Everything." Isaac approached slowly, pulling up a holographic diagram. "The plague targets the Valkyrian neural matrix specifically, where thought and chemistry intersect. It severs the connections faster than the body can rebuild them. Human neural architecture is fundamentally different. We separate cognitive function from chemical regulation in ways your species doesn't. If I establish a link with her, my system can act as a buffer, processing the chemical signals her body can't handle, while her neural pathways regenerate." "And the physical contact?" "The exchange requires skin contact, not just initial contact, continuous contact for the entire treatment cycle, minimum 72 hours of proximity, close enough that our bioelectric fields overlap." Aldrich studied his daughter's failing form. Each second that passed showed in the Emperor's posture, the way his shoulders drew tighter. "If you fail," Aldrich asked quietly, "then you execute me. I assume that's already decided." "It is." The Emperor moved to his daughter's side, placing one hand over hers. "But if you succeed, Dr. Brennan, you will have earned something no human has possessed in the history of our 2 species. My gratitude." Aldrich looked up. "Save her." Isaac didn't wait for the physicians to prepare the chamber. He began issuing orders, pulling equipment from medical stores himself when the Valkyrian staff moved too slowly. Mira Holt, his research assistant, appeared within minutes, her arms full of monitoring equipment. "Word travels fast," she said. "Gossip always does." Isaac calibrated the synaptic readers, his hands steady despite the pressure building in his chest. "I need you to monitor from outside. If my vitals spike, pull me out." "And if hers do, then I stay in until she stabilizes or we both die." The chamber sealed with a pneumatic hiss. Inside, the temperature was precisely controlled, the lighting soft. Seraphine had been moved to a specialized bed, her body positioned at the optimal angle. Isaac checked the IV lines carrying the supplement compounds he'd synthesized, then began attaching the neural interface leads to his own temples. The first contact was electric. Isaac pressed his palm against Seraphine's, feeling the heat of her fever through her skin. The monitoring equipment registered the connection immediately, showing their bioelectric fields beginning to sync. He positioned himself on the bed beside her, close enough to feel the shallow rhythm of her breathing, smell the faint sweetness of her skin. "Come on," he whispered, adjusting the flow rate on the chemical regulators. "Stay with me." Her neural activity spiked on the monitors, a brief flash of awareness before dropping again. Isaac increased his own brainwave output, forcing his consciousness into the analytical state that would process the chemical overflow. The sensation was like diving into deep water, pressure building in his skull as their systems began to merge. Seraphine's eyes fluttered open. For one moment, violet met brown, and Isaac saw awareness flicker in those alien depths. Recognition, confusion, and something else, something that hit him in the chest like a physical blow. Then her hand tightened around his, and the neural link snapped fully into place. The sensation was overwhelming. Every nerve ending lit up as their bioelectric fields synchronized. Isaac could feel her pain as if it were his own, the plague eating through her neural pathways like acid. He gritted his teeth and pushed back, channeling the chemical signals through his own system. Minutes stretched into hours. Sweat soaked through Isaac's shirt as he maintained the connection, his body temperature rising to match hers. The monitors showed improvement, slow, incremental, but there. Her neural pathways were regenerating, the cascade pattern reversing. Seraphine's breathing deepened, steadied. Her skin began to regain its natural blue tint. Isaac allowed himself a moment of relief, then turned his attention to the secondary monitors running detailed blood analysis. The results scrolled across the screen, chemical formulas and protein structures that should have been random. They weren't random. Isaac's breath caught as he recognized the pattern. The plague wasn't a plague at all. It was engineered, precisely targeted to Valkyrian royal bloodlines designed to mimic natural neural cascade while leaving no obvious trace. Whoever had created this hadn't wanted to just kill. They'd wanted it to look like a tragic natural death. Someone had tried to assassinate the princess. He was still staring at the screen when Seraphine's hand squeezed his again, harder this time. Her eyes opened fully, focused now, intelligent and aware. She looked at their joined hands, then up at his face, and Isaac saw the exact moment she realized what was happening, what they were doing, the intimacy of it. Her lips parted, but before she could speak, the chamber's external alarm erupted. Red emergency lights flooded the space. Through the observation window, Isaac saw Corvus shouting orders. Then the explosion rocked the entire wing, and Isaac threw himself over Seraphine as the lights went out. Isaac's ears rang from the explosion, but his body had already moved on instinct, covering Seraphine as debris rained against the reinforced glass. Emergency lighting flickered on, bathing everything in crimson. Through the observation window, he could see flames licking at what remained of the outer medical bay. Seraphine's fingers dug into his shoulders, not pushing him away, holding on. "What happened?" Her voice was rough, barely above a whisper. "Someone just tried to finish what the plague started," Isaac said, checking the chamber's integrity. The seals were holding. "Don't move, we're still linked." He could feel her trying to sit up, her muscles trembling. The neural connection amplified every sensation, her confusion, her anger, and underneath it all, fear she was trying to hide. "My father." is probably organizing half the Imperial Guard right now. Isaac kept his hand pressed against hers, maintaining contact, even as he reached for the internal comm. Static greeted him. We need to stay connected. Your neural pathways are still regenerating. Seraphine's gaze fixed on their joined hands, then traveled up his arm to his face. This close, Isaac could see flecks of darker purple in her eyes, could feel each breath she took as if it were his own. You're human, she said. Your observational skills are intact. Good sign. I'm bonded to a human. She said it like she was testing the words. I can feel you. Your thoughts, She broke off, her cheeks darkening to deep indigo. Isaac felt it too. The neural link didn't just share chemical signals. It shared everything. Her embarrassment bled into his awareness, along with something warmer, attraction that she couldn't hide from him any more than he could hide his response. The treatment requires 72 hours minimum, Isaac said, forcing his tone professional. We're 18 hours in. 18 hours bonded to a stranger's mind while someone just tried to murder me. Fair point. The chamber door hissed open. Mira stumbled in, her face smudged with soot, a plasma burn across her left arm. She carried emergency supplies and Isaac's backup scanner. The medical bay is destroyed, Mira said. Corvus is dead, so are 4 other physicians. Your Majesty, your father is alive, but they've moved him to secure quarters. The attack is being blamed on human separatists. Isaac's jaw clenched. Convenient. Very. Mira set down the supplies. The guard wants to separate you. They're claiming the human is a security risk. Lord Valen is coming with a full security detail. Isaac watched Seraphine's expression shift at the name. Through the neural link, he felt her emotional response. Wariness and something darker. Suspicion. Your uncle? Isaac asked quietly. Seraphine's fingers tightened around his. He's next in line if I die. He's been next in line for 23 years. Their eyes met, and Isaac knew she'd reached the same conclusion. The plague, the explosion, the convenient timing, it was all connected. We need to move, Isaac said to Mira. Somewhere we can continue treatment without interruption. I have a place, Mira said. My research outpost in the northern sector. It's small but secure. Can we transport her? You're going to have to, because Lord Valen will be here in approximately 5 minutes. Isaac was already moving, disconnecting the chamber's systems and transferring Seraphine's vitals to portable units. The neural link made coordination easy. He could sense her pain levels, adjust his movements to minimize discomfort. Seraphine swung her legs off the bed, movements shaky but determined. She wore only a thin medical gown, white hair falling in waves around her shoulders. Isaac grabbed his jacket and draped it over her. Can you walk? He asked. I can run if necessary. She proved it, though Isaac kept his hand locked with hers. They moved through the destroyed medical bay, stepping over rubble and bodies. Seraphine's breath hitched when she saw Corvus, but she didn't slow. Mira led them through maintenance corridors. The passages were narrow, forcing Isaac to stay close to Seraphine, their bodies pressed together as they navigated tight turns. Each point of contact sent awareness crackling through the neural link, her hip against his, her shoulder brushing his chest. How far? Seraphine asked, breathless. Another 100 meters, Mira said. The transport bay is... Voices echoed ahead. Isaac pulled Seraphine into a recessed doorway, his body shielding hers. In the darkness, he could hear her heart racing, could feel through the link that it wasn't fear causing it. You're staring, Seraphine whispered. I can feel you staring back, Isaac countered. Her lips curved slightly. The neural link is inconvenient. Honest, though. That's what makes it inconvenient. The voices passed. They emerged into a small transport bay housing personal craft. Mira moved to the nearest one, a sleek courier ship designed for speed. Inside quickly, Mira said, powering up the engines. The ship's interior was cramped, one small cabin with a narrow bed. Isaac helped Seraphine inside, then sealed the door. Through the viewport, he could see figures in Imperial Guard armor entering the far end of the bay. They've found us, Seraphine said. Mira's good, she'll get us out. The ship lifted smoothly, clearing the facility's airspace. Isaac guided Seraphine to the narrow bed, positioning himself beside her, maintaining necessary contact. In the confined space, there was no way to avoid intimacy. Their legs tangled together, his arm around her shoulders, her head resting against his chest. "Tell me about the pathogen," Seraphine said, "what you found." Isaac pulled up his portable scanner, showing her the analysis. "It's engineered, designed specifically to target royal bloodlines. The protein markers are too precise to be natural." "How many others have died from this plague?" "3 that I know of, all women, all connected to noble houses." Seraphine was silent, processing. Through the link, Isaac felt her mind working. "My cousin Ilara died 6 months ago," she said quietly. "They said it was neural cascade, natural causes. She was 18 and going to marry into the outer reach territories. The alliance would have strengthened my father's position against," she trailed off, "against Lord Valen's faction." "Your uncle benefits every time a royal woman dies." "He's been pushing my father to name him official heir." Seraphine's hand found Isaac's, her fingers threading through his. "I've been the obstacle. The daughter who won't marry for political advantage." "Sounds like he underestimated you." "He underestimated you." She tilted her head to look up at him. "A human performing synchronization protocol with royalty, it's unthinkable, which is probably why it worked." The neural link pulsed between them, and Isaac knew she could feel his response to her proximity. "Isaac," she said softly, and hearing his name from her lips did something to him he wasn't prepared for. "Yeah, the neural link. It's getting stronger, isn't it? This isn't just treatment anymore." He should have denied it, but the link made lies pointless. "Yeah," he admitted, "it is. In my culture, this kind of bond—" She paused, her fingers tracing patterns on his palm. "It's permanent. Once established, it can't be broken without damaging both parties." "I know. You knew, and you did it anyway. I did it to save your life." "And now," she shifted closer, her body pressed fully against his, "what are we doing now?" Isaac's hand moved to her face, his thumb brushing her cheekbone. Through the link, he felt her sharp intake of breath. "Now we're making this complicated," he said. "Good," Seraphine whispered. "I hate simple." She closed the distance between them, her lips meeting his with a hunger that the neural link amplified into something overwhelming. Isaac felt everything, her need, her fear, her desperate grasp at life after coming so close to death. He kissed her back, tasting sweetness and electricity, feeling her hands fist in his shirt. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Seraphine's eyes were bright. "That was unwise," she said. "Probably. We should focus on the investigation." "Absolutely." Neither of them moved apart. The ship's comm crackled. Mira's voice cut through the moment. "We've got a problem," she said. "Lord Valen has declared you both enemies of the state. He's claiming you orchestrated the attack and kidnapped the princess. Every Imperial ship in the sector is hunting us." Isaac felt Seraphine stiffen against him. Through the link, her tactical mind was already working. "How long until we reach the outpost?" Seraphine asked. 20 minutes. But there's something else. The transmission included images from the medical bay. Your blood analysis showing the engineered pathogen? It's been erased from all official records." Isaac's jaw clenched. "He's thorough." "He's had years to plan this," Seraphine said. She sat up, straightening despite exhaustion. "We need evidence he can't erase. Something public." "The Imperial database," Isaac said. "If we can access his personal files." "We'll find the trail," Seraphine finished. Through the neural link, their thoughts aligned. "But accessing those systems requires biometric clearance, my clearance." "Which means going back." "Which means walking into a trap." Seraphine's hand found his again. "He'll be waiting. Then we'd better be smarter than him." The ship began its descent toward Mira's outpost, a small research station built into a cliff face overlooking storm-dark seas. Lightning flickered on the horizon. As they landed, Isaac felt Seraphine's resolve crystallize through the link. Whatever happened next, they were in it together. The neural bond that had started as medical necessity had become something else entirely. A partnership, and if Isaac was honest with himself, something far more dangerous than either. The outpost's interior was stark. Gray walls, minimal furnishings, equipment designed for research rather than comfort. Mira secured the entrance while Isaac helped Seraphine to the single bed in the corner. Through the narrow windows, storm clouds gathered over black water. "We have maybe 6 hours before they track us here," Mira said, pulling up holographic displays. "Lord Valen has mobilized 3 military frigates." Isaac checked Seraphine's vitals on his portable monitor. The neural pathways showed continued improvement, but she needed rest. Through the link, he felt her exhaustion warring with determination. "I'm fine," Seraphine said, catching his concerned look. "You're recovering from assassination, which means I don't have time to rest." She stood, swaying before Isaac's hand steadied her waist. The contact sent heat through the neural link, making both of them pause. "We need to access the Imperial database before Valen scrubs his files." "The nearest access point is the capital," Mira said, "right in the heart of his power base." "Then that's where we go." Seraphine moved to the holographic display, her fingers dancing through the interface. "There's a diplomatic reception tonight. Half the Imperial court will be there, including Valen. Security will be focused on protecting him, not monitoring data access." "You want to walk into a room full of people who think you're a terrorist?" Isaac asked. "I want to walk into a room where no one will expect me." Seraphine pulled up schematics of the Imperial Palace. "The reception hall has direct connections to the central database. If I can reach a terminal, I can download everything in Valen's private files." Isaac studied the schematics. The plan was insane. It was also brilliant. "You'll need different clothes," Mira said. "I can make that work." Seraphine turned to Isaac. "Have you ever been to an Imperial function?" "I've been avoiding them for 3 years." "Time to stop avoiding." She moved closer, close enough that Isaac could feel her breath. "The diplomatic corps often bring human advisors. You'll be my consort for the evening." The word hung between them, loaded with implications that the neural link amplified. Isaac felt her pulse quicken, matching his own. "Your consort," he repeated. "It's a formal position, perfectly legitimate." Her hand found his, fingers threading through his automatically. "And it means no one can separate us without causing a scandal. We maintain contact, continue treatment, and accomplish the mission." "You've thought this through." "I'm good at strategy." She tilted her head. "One of the reasons Valen wants me dead." Mira cleared her throat. "I'll see what I can find for formal wear." As Mira disappeared into storage, Seraphine sank onto the bed. Isaac sat beside her, their shoulders touching. "Tell me about Earth," Seraphine said quietly. "Why did you leave?" Isaac was silent for a moment. Through the link, she could probably sense the old pain. "I performed an unauthorized synchronization protocol on a comatose patient," he said finally. "She'd been in neural shutdown for months. Traditional medicine had given up. I thought I could bring her back." "Did it work?" "For 3 days, long enough for her to say goodbye to her family. Long enough for me to form a bond that would take years to fade." Isaac stared at their joined hands. "The medical board called it unethical, said I'd violated her autonomy. They stripped my license and exiled me from Earth's medical community." "But you saved her." "I gave her 3 more days of pain before she died anyway." Isaac met Seraphine's eyes. "And I'd do it again, just like I'd do this again, knowing it makes everything more complicated." Seraphine leaned into him, her head resting on his shoulder. "My people have a saying, the bonds we choose are stronger than the ones we inherit. You chose to save me when you could have walked away." "Not much of a choice." "There's always a choice." Her hand moved to his chest, resting over his heart. Through the link, he felt her awareness of his heartbeat. "Isaac, what happens when the 72 hours are complete, when the treatment ends?" "Theoretically, the bond should stabilize. We could separate without damage." "Theoretically?" "Yeah." Isaac covered her hand with his. "But we're past theoretical. You know that." "I know." She shifted to face him fully. "In my culture, there are ceremonies for permanent bonds, legal recognitions. It binds 2 people in ways that supersede even marriage contracts." "You're talking about making this official." "I'm talking about acknowledging what's already happening." Seraphine's hand moved to his face, her fingers tracing his jawline. "Every hour we spend connected, the bond deepens. By the time we reach 72 hours, separation will be painful enough that most bonded pairs choose not to risk it. Isaac should have been terrified. Instead, he leaned into her touch. I understand, he said. Do you? Because I'm not just a patient, Isaac. I'm the Emperor's daughter. I'm next in line for the throne. Bonding with me means stepping into political warfare that makes Valen's assassination attempts look simple. Sounds complicated. Impossibly so. Good, Isaac said, echoing her words from earlier. I hate simple. He kissed her, and this time there was no hesitation. Seraphine responded with a hunger that the neural link amplified until Isaac couldn't tell where his desire ended and hers began. Her hands fisted in his hair, his arms wrapped around her waist, pulling her closer. The sensation of her body against his, her lips moving to his jaw, his neck, was overwhelming through the connection. We should stop, Seraphine whispered against his skin, even as her hands slid under his shirt. Probably, Isaac agreed, his own hands exploring the curve of her spine. Neither of them stopped. Mira's return was announced by a deliberate cough. Isaac and Seraphine broke apart, both breathing hard. I found clothes, Mira said, examining the ceiling. They're not perfect, but they'll pass. We have 4 hours until the reception. The formal wear was borrowed, a dress in deep blue that matched Seraphine's skin, and a dark suit for Isaac that was slightly too tight across the shoulders. But Seraphine moved through the transformation with grace, her natural elegance turning simple clothes into something regal. Isaac watched her work. Every gesture spoke of power and breeding, yet through the link he felt her uncertainty, her fear. Stop worrying, he said quietly. I can't. You can feel that I can't. Then let me worry for both of us. She smiled slightly. That's not how bonds work. Then we'll worry together and be twice as prepared. Mira piloted them toward the capital as night fell. The ship stayed low, avoiding detection patterns. Isaac sat beside Seraphine, their hands clasped, going over the plan. The reception starts at sunset, Seraphine said. We enter through the diplomatic entrance. I'll use my biometric clearance to access the system from one of the private terminals in the East Wing. How long will the download take? 3 minutes for his complete files, but we'll need to decrypt them first, which means staying connected to the system for at least 5. 5 minutes in a palace full of people hunting you. I've survived worse odds. Seraphine squeezed his hand. Besides, I'll have you. The capital appeared on the horizon, a sprawling city of towers and lights. The Imperial palace sat at its heart, massive and beautiful and threatening in equal measure. Mira set them down at a public landing platform. I'll monitor communications, she said. The moment you have the files, signal, and I'll extract you from the North Gardens. Isaac and Seraphine stepped out into the cool evening air. Around them, the capital hummed with life, Valkyrian citizens unaware that their princess walked among them. They moved through crowds, Isaac hyper-aware of every glance. But Seraphine had been right. A human escort with a Valkyrian woman raised no suspicions. The palace gates loomed ahead, guarded by soldiers in ceremonial armor. Seraphine approached with confidence, presenting falsified credentials. The guards scanned them, their expressions unreadable. For a moment, Isaac was certain they'd been caught. Then the gates swung open. Welcome, Ambassador, one guard said. The reception is on the 3rd level. They walked through halls of polished stone, past artwork that predated human spaceflight. Other guests moved around them, diplomats, nobles, military officers. Isaac felt Seraphine's tension through the link as they passed faces she recognized. East Wing is ahead, she murmured. Stay close. They turned down a quieter corridor, away from the main reception. The terminal room was small, designed for private diplomatic communications. Seraphine's fingers flew across the interface, her biometric scanners confirming identity. I'm in, she whispered. Files began scrolling, communications, financial records, medical reports. Isaac watched over her shoulder. Valen's connection to the bioweapons creation, payment records to mercenaries, orders to eliminate potential heirs. Got it, Seraphine said. Transfer complete, now we just need to... The door opened behind them. Lord Valen stood in the entrance, flanked by 4 guards. He was tall for a Valkyrian, his silver skin bearing ritual scars of military service. His eyes, the same violet as Seraphine's, held cold satisfaction. "Hello, niece," he said. "I've been waiting for you." Isaac's hand moved to Seraphine's waist, pulling her behind him. Through the neural link, he felt her spike of adrenaline, her mind already calculating exits. "Uncle," Seraphine said, her voice steady despite the fear Isaac could taste through their connection. "You're looking well for a traitor." Valen smiled, the expression not reaching his eyes. "Traitor? My dear, I'm protecting the Empire from a dangerous human terrorist who kidnapped our beloved princess." The guards raised their weapons, energy rifles humming to life. Isaac recognized the setting, stun charges, not lethal. Valen wanted them alive. "The files are already transmitted," Seraphine said. "Every crime you've committed is being broadcast to the Imperial Council right now." Valen's smile didn't falter. "You mean the encrypted files sitting in your personal storage? The ones that will disappear when you meet your tragic end tonight?" He stepped into the room. "I've been tracking your access since you entered the system." Through the link, Isaac felt Seraphine's confidence crack. "However," Valen continued, "you've created an opportunity I hadn't anticipated. A human forming a permanent bond with the Imperial heir?" His gaze settled on Isaac. "When the guards find your bodies, it will be clear the princess died resisting your assault, a human pervert who took advantage of the synchronization protocol." "No one will believe that," Isaac said. "They will when I show them the neural scans I've been recording since you entered the palace, your arousal patterns, your brain chemistry during physical contact with her." Valen's expression turned smug. "Every intimate moment you've shared is documented." Seraphine's hand found Isaac's, squeezing once. Through the link, he felt her plan forming before she spoke. "You're right," she said, taking a step toward Valen. "The bond does make us vulnerable. Our bioelectric fields are synchronized now, perfectly matched." She was moving as she spoke, positioning herself between Isaac and the guards. Through their connection, Isaac understood. The neural link coordinated their nervous systems. If one of them could create a strong enough electrical discharge— "Seraphine, don't!" Isaac started, but she was already reaching for the terminal, her hand slamming against the exposed power coupling. Electricity arced through her body and directly into Isaac through their bond. Every muscle locked as the current overwhelmed their nervous systems. But the synchronized connection amplified the discharge, redirecting it outward through their bioelectric field. The blast caught all 4 guards, dropping them like stones. Valen dove backward, barely avoiding the edge. He scrambled to his feet, reaching for the fallen rifle. Isaac moved first, his body responding before his mind caught up. He crossed the distance in 2 strides, his fist connecting with Valen's jaw before the older Valkyrian could bring the weapon up. Valen staggered but didn't fall. His counterstrike caught Isaac in the ribs, driving the air from his lungs. Through the link, Isaac felt Seraphine's pain from the electrical shock mixing with his own from Valen's blow. She was on her feet, moving toward them despite trembling muscles. Isaac gasped, "Get the files out." "Not without you," Seraphine said, grabbing one of the fallen rifles. Valen laughed, blood staining his silver teeth. "How romantic, you'll die together at least." He lunged for Isaac, but Seraphine fired. The stun charge caught Valen in the shoulder, spinning him sideways. He crashed into the terminal, the impact cracking the display. Alarms erupted throughout the palace. Red emergency lights flooded the corridors beyond. "We have maybe 2 minutes," Seraphine said, moving to the terminal despite sparks flying from the damaged console. "I need to bypass the encryption and transmit manually." Isaac positioned himself at the door, checking the corridor. Footsteps echoed from both directions, guards responding to the alarm. "Seraphine," he said quietly, "I know, just give me 30 seconds." Through the link, Isaac felt her focus narrowing, her fingers flying across the interface, bypassing security protocols that should have been unbreakable. The footsteps grew louder. Isaac could see shadows moving at the corridor's far end. 20 seconds, Seraphine whispered. Valen groaned, pushing himself upright. Blood ran from his mouth, but his eyes were clear and filled with rage. He reached for a backup weapon at his belt. Isaac kicked the weapon away, then grabbed Valen by his formal collar. "Tell me about the plague," How many others did you infect? Enough, Valen spat, every woman who could challenge my claim. The cure, Isaac said, his grip tightening. There are other women dying right now. Why would I help you save them? Valen's smile returned bloody and terrible. They're already dead, just like you. Guards appeared at the corridor entrance, weapons raised. Isaac released Valen and moved back to Seraphine, pressing his body against hers to maintain the neural link while giving her cover. Done, Seraphine said, her voice sharp with triumph. Files transmitted to every council member, every major news network, every diplomatic channel in the Empire. He can't hide anymore. Then we need to leave, now. They ran, Isaac keeping his hand locked with Seraphine's as they moved. The palace had become a maze of alarms and armed guards. North Gardens, Seraphine said, breathing hard as they took another turn. Mira said North Gardens. Behind them, Valen's voice echoed through the comm system. Seal all exits. The terrorists are armed and dangerous. Shoot to kill. The guards who appeared ahead didn't hesitate, opening fire with lethal rounds. Isaac pulled Seraphine into a side corridor as energy blasts scorched the walls. He's abandoned the pretense, Seraphine said. He's going to kill us publicly and claim we forced his hand. Then we don't give him the chance. They found a service stairwell descending 3 levels at a run. Isaac's lungs burned, and through the link he felt Seraphine's exhaustion matching his own. The garden's entrance appeared ahead, a glass archway opening onto manicured grounds. Beyond it, Isaac could see Mira's ship hovering at low altitude, running lights dark. They burst through the archway, sprinting across open ground. Energy fire erupted behind them, guards pouring from the palace in pursuit. Mira brought the ship lower, the cargo ramp dropping. Move! Isaac felt the impact before the pain registered. The energy blast caught him in the shoulder, spinning him sideways. Through the link, Seraphine screamed, feeling his agony as her own. Isaac! She caught him before he fell, her arms wrapping around his waist. Keep moving, he gasped, forcing his legs to work despite the burning in his shoulder. They reached the ramp together, stumbling into the ship's interior. Mira fired the engines before the ramp had fully closed, the ship banking hard as more energy blasts struck its hull. Isaac collapsed against the bulkhead, his vision swimming. Through the link, he felt Seraphine's panic, her hands pressing against his wounded shoulder to stop the bleeding. How bad? Mira called from the cockpit. Bad enough, Seraphine said, her voice shaking. We need medical supplies. Behind you, port locker. Seraphine moved with efficiency, pulling out emergency medical supplies. Through the link, Isaac felt her terror that she might lose him. Hey, he said, catching her hand with his good one. I'm not going anywhere. You were shot. I've been shot before, it's overrated. He tried to smile, but it came out as a grimace. How are the files? Transmitted. Every major channel is broadcasting them. Seraphine applied pressure to his wound, her hands steady despite tears running down her blue cheeks. The Empire knows what Valen did. Good, Isaac said. Then it was worth it. Don't you dare, Seraphine whispered. Don't you dare act like dying is acceptable. Not planning on it. Isaac's hand moved to her face, wiping away her tears. But if I did, at least I'd feel you with me until the end. The ship shuddered, another blast hitting its shields. Mira cursed from the cockpit. We've got 3 pursuit ships on our tail, she called. I can't outrun them, not with the damage we've taken. Through the viewport, Isaac could see the military frigates gaining, their weapons systems powering up for another salvo. Then the comm crackled to life, a familiar voice, deep and resonant with absolute authority. All Imperial ships stand down immediately. This is Emperor Aldrich. You are ordered to cease fire and provide escort to that vessel. Seraphine's breath caught. Father? The files you transmitted have been verified, Aldrich continued. Lord Valen is hereby stripped of all titles and marked for execution. Princess Seraphine, Dr. Brennan, you are cleared of all charges. Come home. The pursuit ships broke off, their weapons powering down. 2 of them moved into escort formation around Mira's damaged vessel. Isaac let his head fall back against the bulkhead, relief and pain washing through him in equal measure. Through the link, he felt Seraphine's emotions, joy, exhaustion, vindication, and underneath it all, love so fierce it took his breath away. "We did it," she whispered, her forehead resting against his. "We did it," Isaac agreed. But as consciousness began to slip away from blood loss, he felt something else through the link. The neural pathways they'd built were fragmenting, the strain of the last hours taking its toll. The bond was breaking down faster than it should, and if they didn't stabilize soon, they'd both suffer permanent damage. He tried to tell Seraphine, but darkness swallowed the words before they could form. Isaac woke to the sterile white of a medical bay, his shoulder wrapped in regeneration bandages. The pain had dulled to a manageable throb, but something else was wrong. The neural link felt frayed, like a rope coming apart strand by strand. Seraphine sat beside his bed, her hand wrapped around his. Her eyes were closed, but he could feel her consciousness through the connection, weak, flickering. "How long?" he asked, his voice rough. Her eyes opened immediately. 18 hours, your shoulder is healing, but the bond. She trailed off, and Isaac felt her fear spike through the link. It's degrading, the trauma, the electrical discharge, the separation when you lost consciousness. It damaged the pathways. Isaac pushed himself upright despite the protest from his shoulder. The monitoring equipment showed 2 sets of vitals, both unstable. Their neural patterns were desyncing. "We're past 72 hours, Isaac said. "The treatment should be complete." "It should be, but we stressed the bond too much, too fast." Seraphine's fingers tightened around his. "The physicians say we can try to sever the connection cleanly, but given how deep it's become, that will cause permanent neural damage to both of us. Or we complete the bonding ritual, fully. It will stabilize the pathways, make them permanent." "Permanent means permanent," Isaac said quietly. "There's no undoing it, ever." She met his eyes. "And there's something else. 3 more women have been infected with the plague. They're in the early stages, but without treatment, they'll die within 48 hours. Isaac's jaw clenched. Valen had a backup plan. His supporters released the pathogen before his execution. One final act of revenge. Seraphine's voice shook. "They need the synchronization protocol. They need us. But if we complete our bonding ritual first, stabilize our connection, we won't be able to help them. The ritual takes 12 hours and requires complete focus. By the time we finish, they'll be too far gone." Through the link, Isaac felt the impossible choice tearing at her. Save themselves and let 3 women die, or help the infected and risk both their lives to neural degradation. "How long do we have before our bond fails completely?" Isaac asked. 6 hours, maybe 8. "And how long to treat one patient using the protocol?" Seraphine's eyes widened as she understood what he was considering. 4 hours minimum per patient. "Isaac, we can't. The math doesn't work. We'd need 12 hours to treat all 3, and we only have 6 before our bond collapses." "Not if we work simultaneously." Isaac was already pushing himself out of bed, ignoring the burning in his shoulder. "We split up. I take one patient, you take another. We both know the protocol now, both understand the synchronization process. We can't separate. The bond is too unstable. Separation for more than a few minutes could trigger complete neural collapse." "Then we don't separate far." Isaac pulled up a holographic display, his mind racing. 3 treatment chambers, arranged in a triangle, close enough that our bioelectric fields can still overlap, maintain the bond while we work with separate patients. "That's never been tested." "Neither was treating royalty with a human neural bridge." Isaac caught her hand. "Seraphine, we can do this, together." Through the link, he felt her fear transform into determination. She stood swaying slightly before steadying herself. "We'll need approval from my father, and the patients will need to consent to being treated by people whose own bond is failing." "Then let's get approval." Emperor Aldrich listened to their plan with an expression carved from stone. Around him, the Imperial physicians protested, calling the idea reckless, suicidal. "You're asking permission to risk both your lives," Aldrich said finally. "My daughter and the man who saved her. For 3 women you've never met." "I'm asking permission to do what's right," Seraphine said. "Father, if we don't try, they die. If we complete our bonding ritual first and save ourselves, we have to live with that choice forever, through a bond that will make us feel each other's guilt every moment for the rest of our lives." Aldrich closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them, he looked at Isaac. "This is what she chooses," he asked quietly. "This is the man she's bonded to? Someone who would risk everything for strangers?" "Yes," Seraphine said before Isaac could respond. "Then I see why the bond formed," Aldrich straightened. "You have my permission, and my prayers, both of you." The treatment chambers were arranged exactly as Isaac had specified, forming a tight triangle with less than 3 meters between each. The infected women were brought in, 2 young nobles and 1 common-born servant, all showing the same gray pallor, the same failing neural signatures that Seraphine had displayed days ago. "Remember," Isaac said, checking Seraphine's vital monitors one last time. "We maintain the bond through proximity. If either of us starts to fade, we stop immediately." "We won't fade," Seraphine said, but through the link he felt her uncertainty. They separated to their respective chambers. Isaac felt the bond stretch, the connection thinning like a wire pulled taut. Through the observation windows, he could see Seraphine in the adjacent chamber, could see her hands trembling as she prepared her patient. Isaac forced his focus to the woman before him, barely 20, unconscious, her neural pathways already showing cascade patterns. He pressed his palm to hers, establishing the connection, feeling the familiar rush as their bioelectric fields synchronized. But something was wrong. The bond with Seraphine was interfering, creating cross signals between all 3 chambers. Isaac could feel not just his patient and Seraphine, but echoes of Seraphine's patient as well. The neural load was staggering. Through the link, he felt Seraphine struggling with the same problem. Their bond was trying to incorporate the new connections, trying to synchronize 4 minds instead of 2. "It's not working," one of the observing physicians said over the comm. "The interference is too strong. You need to stop." "No," Isaac gritted out, "we adapt." He reached deeper into the bond with Seraphine, finding the core of their connection beneath the interference. Instead of fighting the cross signals, he let them flow through, using their bond as a conduit. If they couldn't keep the connections separate, they'd unify them. Through the link, he felt Seraphine understand. She opened her connection wider, letting the neural patterns flow between chambers. Their bond became a bridge, coordinating the treatment of both patients simultaneously. The 3rd patient, in the chamber tended by a trained physician under their guidance, added another layer of complexity. Isaac and Seraphine had to maintain their own bond, treat their individual patients, and guide the 3rd physician through the process, all while their own neural pathways degraded with each passing minute. 2 hours in, Isaac's vision started to blur. The pain in his shoulder was nothing compared to the agony building in his skull as synapses misfired. Through the link, he felt Seraphine experiencing the same degradation. 37% neural integrity, Mira's voice came through the comm. She'd taken over monitoring their vitals. "You need to stop, both of you." "Patients first," Seraphine said, her voice strained. Isaac watched his patient's readings improve incrementally. The cascade was reversing, but too slowly. At this rate, they'd need another 2 hours. He and Seraphine had maybe 40 minutes before total neural collapse. Through the bond, he felt Seraphine's realization matching his own. They couldn't save all 3, but they could save 2. "No," Seraphine said aloud, feeling his thought before he could voice it. "We don't choose. We have to. Then we choose differently." Through the failing bond, Isaac felt her idea form. Desperate, brilliant, probably fatal. "We merge the protocols, stop trying to treat them separately, and synchronize all 5 of us at once. Use our bond as the anchor point." "That's never been done. The neural load will either kill us or save us." Seraphine met his eyes through the observation window. "But at least we fail trying to save everyone." Isaac made the decision in a heartbeat. Do it. They dropped the barriers between chambers, letting their bond expand to encompass all 5 minds. The sensation was overwhelming. 5 sets of neural patterns trying to synchronize through 2 failing bridges. Isaac felt himself fragmenting, his consciousness splitting across multiple awareness streams. But Seraphine was there, her presence steady in the chaos. Through their bond, they moved as one, coordinating the treatment across all 3 patients simultaneously. Where one pattern faltered, the other compensated. Where one struggled with chemical processing, the other took the load. The third physician, caught in the synchronization field, gasped as the protocols he'd been struggling with suddenly made perfect sense. Guided by the unified bond, he adjusted his treatment with precision that matched Isaac's expertise. 3 patients, 2 human Valkyrian bridges, 1 bond holding everything together. The monitoring equipment screamed warnings. Isaac's neural integrity dropped to 20%, then 15%. Through the link, he felt Seraphine falling with him. But the patients were improving, their cascade patterns reversing, their neural pathways rebuilding. 10%, Mira's voice was desperate. Isaac, Seraphine, you have to stop. You're dying. Almost there, Isaac whispered, but he could barely see anymore. The world had narrowed to points of light in darkness, Seraphine's consciousness and the 3 flickering flames of the patients they were saving. Then something shifted. The patients' neural patterns stabilized, their bonds with their respective physicians settling into sustainable rhythms. The treatment was working. They'd succeeded. Isaac tried to pull back, to separate from the collective synchronization, but his neural pathways wouldn't respond. He was too far gone, too fragmented. Through the failing link, he felt Seraphine in the same state, conscious but unable to disconnect, their minds scattered across the bond network they'd created. They're trapped, one of the physicians said. The synchronization is complete, but they can't separate. Their own bond is too degraded to support consciousness transfer back to individual awareness. Then fix it. Aldrich's voice cut through the calm. You have 3 healthy patients now, and a physician who just participated in an unprecedented synchronization. Use what they taught you. Save them. What happened next, Isaac experienced only in fragments. The third physician, still connected to the bond network, reaching deeper to find where Isaac's consciousness had scattered. Seraphine's presence finding his, their awareness merging at a fundamental level that went beyond any bond. Other physicians joining the network, adding their strength, pulling them back piece by piece. And then, suddenly, clarity. Isaac gasped, his consciousness snapping back into his body with such force that he convulsed. Across the chambers he heard Seraphine cry out as the same thing happened to her. He opened his eyes. The monitoring equipment showed 42% neural integrity and climbing. Beside him, his patient was breathing steadily, her blue skin returning to its natural vibrant color. Through the bond, stronger now, somehow more solid than before, he felt Seraphine's consciousness, not scattered anymore, not fragmented, unified and permanent and completely intertwined with his own. You did it, Mira said, and she was crying. You insane, brilliant idiots, you actually did it. Isaac tried to stand, but his legs wouldn't support him. The chamber doors opened and Seraphine was there, stumbling toward him with the same desperation he felt through their bond. They collided in the space between chambers, arms wrapping around each other, holding on like they could anchor themselves through physical touch alone. I thought I lost you, Seraphine whispered against his neck. Can't get rid of me that easily. Isaac pulled back enough to see her face. The bond is permanent now. The physicians say the synchronization completed it. We're bound for life, Isaac. No ritual needed. Good, he said and kissed her. Around them, the medical bay erupted in celebration. The 3 patients were recovering. The protocol had worked, and somehow, impossibly, Isaac and Seraphine had survived. Emperor Aldrich entered as they finally broke apart. He looked at them both for a long moment, then shook his head. My daughter bonds with the one human in the galaxy as reckless as she is, he said, but he was smiling. Welcome to the family, Dr. Brennan. Officially, this time. 3 days later, Isaac stood beside Seraphine in the Imperial throne room. The formal ceremony was brief. Their bond was already complete, already recognized by every physician who'd witnessed what they'd accomplished. This was just making it official for the Empire. 2 minds, 1 purpose, the officiant said. 2 hearts, 1 beat. So witnessed and bound. Through their bond, Isaac felt Seraphine's joy, her love, her absolute certainty that this was right. He pulled her close and kissed her, not caring about the watching crowd, feeling her respond with a passion that the permanent neural link amplified into something transcendent. When they finally broke apart, Emperor Aldrich stepped forward. "The Empire owes you both a debt that cannot be repaid," he said formally. Then his voice softened. "But perhaps we can start by giving you what you've earned. 3 days of privacy. No councils, no duties, no politics, just the two of you, together." Isaac met Seraphine's eyes, and through their bond, they shared the same thought. 3 days alone. 3 days to explore what their permanent bond meant, to learn each other without the pressure of survival and assassination. 3 days to simply be. "We accept," Seraphine said, her hand finding Isaac's. As they left the throne room, Isaac felt her presence in his mind like a constant melody, felt her happiness as his own. The human doctor who'd saved a princess, and the princess who'd saved him right back. Bound forever, and neither would have it any other way.